Hello YouTube peoples. I'm going to be turning this into a black Lotus candle thingy. It's going to look kind of cool. Alright. Going to need 75 19 gauge 1/4 inch ID and 30 19 gauge 3/16. I like to close up 14 of the little rings, the 3/16, which will be little rings from now on, beforehand, and open up the 16 and open 45 of the big ones and close the others, 30 of them. We're also going to be using scales, 30 of those, 15 of those, 15 of these shiny ones. Alright, start out, just going to have a big chain, alternating between your big rings and your little rings. Close them up, nice and pretty. Right up there. Ooh, so out of focus. Probably speed this up so that you don't have to sit here in the nice quiet. I enjoy the quiet. I don't know if you do or not. We want to use this chain to have 15 big rings, all 14 of our closed little rings. Which will make sense here in a minute. Alright. Hopefully I sped that up so you didn't have to sit there and watch the long boring part. But as you can see, big ring, big, little. Starts and ends with a big ring on both ends. 14 little rings, 15 big rings. Really important. Otherwise your candle thing's going to be too big. It's going to fall through. You don't want any of that crap. Alright. Now, we take some of these closed rings that we got, of the big ones. Should have used up all your little closed rings. All the little ones go through. Take a big one. And we'll slip it over. It looks like that. Probably can't see very good. We want to do that to every one of them. We want them all on the same side. It's going to kind of curve it when we're done. I don't want to be too loud because it'll attract the cat. I just think she's out to get me. Which if you watch any of, or pay attention to any of my other stuff, I refer to her as my assistant. And she's zero help at all. And likes to try and get in my way. Which is fun. Alright. So, we got this kind of cool looking thing here. Now, we take one of our little rings. Want to connect it to make a full circle using our two end pieces or long ones. Probably mention that you can use whatever pliers you're comfortable with. I like my bent needle nose, but sometimes you need something smaller. I also have these. And you got regular pliers and needle nose pliers I use. So whatever is easiest for you. Don't let anybody tell you different. Alright. So now if you look around our thing, you'll notice that this little ring doesn't have a buddy with it. So throw one up there. Don't want them to be lonely. Ta-da! But now, we have our thing here. All those rings you just put on, we don't want them to fall off. So take an open big ring, and we want to trap it. Make it our prisoner. Make it suffer. See? What's trapped on there? This guy's through the little rings. Well, that's not good. It froze up. It's weird. Anyway. See how close can I get to this? Maybe I'll show you in this camera. I want to go through and trap them all with big rings. Trap the big rings with big rings. And I'll speed this part up too because, well, I'm just going in circles. Literally. Alright. As you can hopefully see, all of the rings are trapped by other rings. Make little weird ring sandwiches. Alright, now, the rings we just put on, we can put the rest of our little rings on. We loop them through with using the same rings we just put on, going through the same ones that the other little rings go through. So kind of match up our little ring loopies. Yeah, probably don't know how well you can see that. This thing autofocus, hopefully. Nope, it doesn't. Up here, maybe. Alright, so here's the ring we just put on. So it goes through the same rings as the other little ring. Shares big rings with it. Okay. And we do that all the way through the circle. Again, because circles are fun. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be watching me play with rings. Hopefully, going to be playing with rings yourself. All the rings and scales that I am using come from the ringlord.com. It's up in Canada. So, if you feel yourself having the urge to enjoy making stuff, it takes forever. You need patience. But that's where you can get supplies from. Really good. Haven't had any problems with them. A little bit slower because COVID stuff's. They have pattern stuff. I think they have this pattern on their site as well. If you prefer to have pictures instead of videos. Usually takes about maybe a week to get your stuff when you order it from them. For me anyway. Northern Pennsylvania. Don't know if that matters. But if I order something on Monday, I can usually have it by Thursday or Friday. Fun hobby to get into, though. Like I said, as long as you can withstand the patience of doing it. No monotony sometimes. You could also make your own rings. Maybe I'll do a video sometime on that, depending if people want to see it, or if I'm in the mood. Because unfortunately, unlike most people that you meet, I don't care what other people want. No offense to anybody out there. End up with something kind of like that. Well, I shouldn't say kind of like that. Exactly like that. Before we go, I need a drink. I need to also trim my face. Alright. Now I want to take the rest of our closed up big rings. And just like you put them on the first set of little rings, push them over top of the second set. Do. Normally I would have music playing in the background, but I don't want a Final Fantasy VII soundtrack to be drowning me out. Uh-oh, cat's awake. Fortunately, she's just chilling over there. That's a good thing. I don't want her to. Oh boy. It looks like she might lay back down. It might be safe. So, funny story. I helped my cousin move on Friday, which curse him because I'm old and fat. Then I ended up helping my other buddy move on Sunday, which sucked because I was still sore because I'm old and fat. Alright, get back to the story in a second. After I get all those on, I'm going to take my opened up big rings that I have left and capture them just like I did before. All the way around again. So anyway, it turned out that the U-Haul we got when my cousin moved was the same exact U-Haul that my buddy used. Exact same one. Not from the same place, not same size and whatnot, which they were, but exact same U-Haul. Small world and all that. Thought it was humorous. Alright, I'll speed this up so you don't have to watch me go in circles again. What you doing, kitty? Alright, so, ta-da! Now I have a bunch of rings into a little circle thing. Alright. Probably should have mentioned this before. I'm going to mention it now. Make sure when you close up your rings that you get them nice and snug, because when you first acquire them, probably, yeah, you can tell kind of a little bit. They got that opening. That's bad. The rings and scales can slip through each other, and then everything you did is useless. That's bad. Don't want to do that. Want your stuff to actually, matter. Alright, so we have our thing right here. And if one part is going to mess me up, it's going to be this part. every time. Your rings will push in one direction to go kind of flat. You probably can't tell very good on there. But if you're on the inside of your circle, you want your lower part of that flat to be on top and the higher part to be on bottom. Now, it's going to look weird when I'm putting this stuff on, but bear with me. Alright. So you're going to put your outside row of scales on the rings first. And it's going to go on. Alright. So you have 5 rows of big rings in your mix. My camera froze up on there again. I don't know why it does that. Sorry about that. Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Your outside layer is never going to get used. It's there to support everything else. So your second from the outside is where you want to put your first ring on. Now I'm going to switch to these little pliers. We open up, put a ring on, or a scale on, sorry. I'm going to be using because of the color scheme I'm going with, putting the green on. 2 scales. Close her up. The next ring in the mix. And here's our outside one. We're not using that. But in the same row is our next one right here. So we find our opening. Or our opening will be, I guess, because if we closed it right, we don't have an opening right now. I promise it still exists somewhere. Maybe. Oh, yeah, there it is. Just give it a little twist. This one here. Put up. And we have another one. Move these closer. Like so. This scale will eventually go on that ring when we get there. Because we're going to go all the way in the circle. Again, because circles. See, this ring is in both of them scales. This ring, those 2 scales. So each scale will have 2 rings, and each ring will have 2 scales. Alright. I'll speed this up as I put the other green ones on, then I'll show you what it's done. Alright. So I have all my scales on here. It makes this pretty little, like, swirly ninja star of death. Pretty sure you whip this at somebody, it's going to hurt a lot. Cat's eyeballing me. Little scared. Don't tell anybody. Alright. Now, next we're going to put on some black, because that's the color I'm using, because I'm making Black Lotus, right? Alright. So, my little pointers here. The tip of each of your green scales, or whatever color you're using, goes through a ring, this ring. Okay. Hopefully, see? cat hair. Or my hair. I don't know. Those are the rings that we want to use next. So, we spin it around. We find our opening, like we've been doing. Open her up. Put on a scale. Put on another scale. A lot of the same things happen over and over. If you haven't noticed that yet, you will. Move to your next one. Spin it around. Find your opening. Put on the scale that you just put on the other one. You want to make sure your curves are toward you. So the indent is toward you, it curves out away from you. Scales on, close it up. Hit your nose. Spin your next one around. Open her up. Scale in, next scale on. So on and so forth all the way through the circle. Anybody who's still watching, thank you for watching. And if you want, there's a subscribe button over there-ish, I think. Yeah, somewhere in there. You know where it's at. You're on YouTube. You can figure it out. If you enjoy watching me making things, or if it's informative, want to make other things, or if you just love my cheerful demeanor, whichever, you can hit that button. Or maybe just like watching me make a fool of myself, because I do that a lot too. Or pinch myself with pliers. I'm sure I'll be doing that a lot. Hit myself with a Dremel tool. I do that too. If there's ever too much blood, I won't put it up there, obviously. I don't want to, have people vomiting while they watch if they have weak stomachs for all that stuff. Though, I'm not going to lie, the thought is there just to be funny. Because cheerful demeanor. Anyway, just keep going in your circle. The more scales that you put on your flower, the more difficult they will be to put on your flower. Which is very encouraging, I know. This one seems to be going pretty good for me this time, though, which is a good thing. And yes, it does take longer to put on scales than it did to make the whole chain thing. I'm going to call it chain skirt, which is not really a skirt thing until we put the scales on there. Maybe at some point we'll do a chainmail skirt. That'd be kind of cool. Probably have to model it myself, because my wife probably doesn't really want to be dancing around in a chainmail skirt on YouTube, but I'll do it. Call it a kilt. I guess I'm looking at you over there, not there. Yeah, I'll call it a kilt, that way it's not weird. Put comments down there what color it should be. Or if you guys want me to, shouldn't say guys. Don't know who else watching. Y'all. I know a lot of girls like doing this stuff, which I don't blame them. Turns out really nice and pretty, and it's fun and kind of stress relieving if you let it be. Or it can be very stressful if that's where you're at. About the 6th time you put a ring in the wrong way, it's stressful and annoying, and you're ready to throw stuff. And then about the time you get to that point is when you start bleeding. Yeah, if you guys got anything else, guys, there we go. If y'all got anything else that you think I should try to make, let me know. I'm willing to try just about anything. I mostly work with chainmail, scale mail, glass. I think about making a glass sword. Maybe I'll do that video next. I do like sharp, pointy things, and I do have a big sheet of glass I can chop up. If it's not yet next, I will definitely do one. Alright, so this circle's almost done. I managed to chatter away the entire time. Whether that's good or bad, that's up to you. As long as you got a bit of entertainment out of it, I suppose it's good, right? Alright, so second row's done. Each row's gonna have 15 scales. If you didn't figure that out, well, I just told you, so now you have. And it's gonna look like that, kind of. Again, throwing star of doom here. Oh, nice throwing star. How many blades does it have? 15. Alright. Now, just like you did with the first row, where these scales, this ring here, just goes through the tip of them, those are the rings that you're going to want your next row scales on. Alright. Seeing as you should know by now how to do this, I will, well, probably should tell you first. This is usually the most difficult row of scales. Just the way the design works. Don't be discouraged if it's difficult on this row. That's normal. This row's a giant pain in the tuchus, as you can probably tell already. I'm going to speed through, and I'll talk to you when I'm done. Yeah. This is a good spot to mention that that's the owies that you'll get. Alright, back to Speedy Zoom Zoom. So I think it's really important to note that you're going to have oopses. Like this one right here. This ring right here slipped off where it's supposed to be hooked at, which is this right here. I was putting this scale on to this. I'm going to go ahead and put that scale on, and then we're going to have to fix that ring before we can continue. Because if you don't, that'll mess up all the mojos. At least it wasn't a real bad oops. Sometimes you get things where it's like the ring breaks. fixing that's a bit more difficult. Alright, so we know where it goes at, we know where oops at. So it needs to go through this ring right here. So all we need to do, we're going to open it up enough to get the other ring through. Ta-da! I'm going to find where it goes. I'm going to slip it through there. Being careful not to catch any other rings that it's not supposed to be through, like I just did. Right. Try again. Slip it through there. Close it up. Act like nothing bad happened. Ta-da! Then go back into fast forward mode. Continue. Alright. Finally got that row done. I'm not going to lie, that is one of the most difficult rows of scales you will ever put on. Anything. Ever. Alright. So, I did. Miscounted. Got an extra black scale. I like putting mirror, or these silver shiny ones, for my last row, because when we get the fire in it, it reflects it and it looks pretty. Alright. And this goes just like the last row, a little easier. Well, the end of the scale goes through, that's the ring you want to put it through. So, spin it around just like we had been. Find where our opening is. Open it up. Scale on. Scale on. And close. Next ring. Find your opening. Separate. Put on the scale. Put on the scale. And close. Next. Scale on. Scale on. And close. This row is way easier than the last one. Unless your ring gets caught on your last row. Come on now. Don't be like that. Get through the hole. There it goes. Took a little convincing, but it made it. And spread open a little bit on me. It's alright though. Anything is fixable. It's one of the cool things about working with the scale mail and the chain mail. No matter what the problem is, it can always be fixed. Or worked around, or dealt with. Much like life. I realize that most people don't believe that. But, no matter what your problem, there are ways to improve. Sometimes we just don't see them. sometimes the problem, regardless of what it's with, the best solution is to step away from it. For instance, if I'm having too much trouble with one of my projects, whatever it may be, one of the things that I will do is I'll just let it be. Walk away from it for a bit. Go back later when I don't want to huck it out the wall. It's always important to remember it's always an option. Because I don't want any of my fellow mailers, generic term for people who work on scale mail and chain mail, to be in jail because they didn't know how to just wander off when person X decides to be annoying. Sure, you've noticed by now that what I meant when I said this row is way easier than the last one. The last one sucked. Maybe next time I do a mail-in video, I'll turn on radio in the back. Because where I've been able to speed up different parts for y'all, I've not sped it up for me. So I've been sitting in silence, other than the sound of my voice, for the, I don't know, too long that it took to do this. You guys are going to have to tell me what you think of this stuff down in the comments. Down there. Right? Yeah, that way. Sorry, the camera angle throws me off. Or if there's something else you want me to make or try. Everything goes well, I'll eventually be trying to make a little makeshift forge in the backyard. Which, you all invited to that too. Gotta have fun, right? Hopefully I can, with this stuff, show you guys how to do some cool stuff. Disclaimer, don't hurt yourselves. You know, maybe doing this stuff isn't for you. That doesn't mean nothing is. You gotta find what you like doing. Just do it. I like making things. So here we are. Last ring. Put it up there. Ta-da! Our little flower that can hold it shaped like that. If you have anything special to put in there, you can. However, the design is for one of those. So loosen up a little bit before we put our candle in there. This is our inside. We want it to be kind of flattened out there a bit. Look kind of like so. Snug. It takes a little finesse. By that I mean brute force. And push it down in there to our bottom. Probably can't tell, I'm feeling it with my fingers. On our bottom is flat. Looks like that. Now you want to hold your candle, and when you're opening this up, it'll cause your rings to flex a bit. So you can get your open, the amount of open that you want to have to be there. Or you can just do it too much like I just did. There we go. Beautiful little flower. Now we need to light it. Where did I put... I don't know where I put my lighter. It's okay though. I got this. Works like a charm every time. Guaranteed it'll light it. Don't try this at home. Ah, there we go. One candle lit. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to turn off the light. And you can watch that. Or see that. Being all shiny and pretty.